Once again, we come back to the theme of the knight forks, and most importantly, I'd like to show you another theme that the knight forks can actually work with. And this is the theme about the decoy. Now, decoy is a very wide kind of a motive or theme, so you have to know that using it is not easy. Nevertheless, let us see exactly how we can probably work. Now, in that exact situation, we've got that rook onto the d1, we've got that knight on d5, and a few pieces that stand. But it's really about asking ourselves, is there any immediate way to make this work? I think, most importantly, that knight on the d5 looks pretty good, and what we also realize is that the rook on the d1 is also well standing. So I truly believe that white has got these pieces standing in a really good way. Nevertheless, how can we get to use them in order to become more successful with our plan? The first thing that I like is that the move of the knight on the d5 looks great. I mean, if it could only jump somewhere to discover a check and possibly help us to win the queen, that would be fantastic. It really looks like it. But we don't seem to have that chance, because if we do knight f6, he's just going to take on it with his queen. And if we do knight e7, then there could be queen takes to the e7. So it doesn't look anyhow great. So what is that we do in here? There's no knight e7, obviously, and the truth is that black's rook is actually lined up against our own queen, so it doesn't look easy to do that either. And now we understand where the whole problem comes from. Now you're going to say, how do we understand it? Well, let me tell you, understanding how to resolve certain problem requires you to follow certain steps. Why can't white give a check? Well, I believe it's because the queen is there. Okay, obviously we cannot remove the queen. So why can't we do any other threats? Because the knight is there. So we found out the two most important pieces by black that are really holding our own pieces and our own attacks into his position. So literally, being there or having these pieces all there is pretty unpleasant for us. So what do we do in this moment, actually? Well, I guess there is a chance for us to move with the maybe we can think about moving with the queen, yet you see black is going to attack us, and it's not going to work. So essentially, the thing is that we got to figure out a proper way to do this. I mean, maybe forcing or non-forcing, not sure, but let's say, try to think about move candidates, especially forcing moves that are helping to somewhat attack against black and not to let him stand strong with a few of his other pieces. Well, if I'm really looking at that position, I don't see that many forcing moves that can be significantly destructive or attacking. So what I'm thinking about is that most probably, the move we can make is going to be bishop d7. That's a beautiful move that above all else helps white to really attack and very effectively move against black. So this move is superior, as if the black queen actually gets to capture in there, we realize that there is knight f6 with a check, and as a matter of fact, after that kind of a move, it's like if black plays king to the g7, which is possible, there would be knight takes d7, knight takes d7, and queen f2. So white's actually winning the queen in here, so it doesn't really look good. Okay, but obviously that's gonna be responded by the move of knight takes d7. So what do we do here? And now we realize that after playing with this move, and when the black knight takes to d7 actually comes in, there is another sort of a continuation that white can make, and that is the beautiful queen takes c8. See, it was a decoy. The bishop on d7 was an actual decoy. We forced the black knight to remove itself from the active c5 square. And so when it goes down there, and then black plays queen takes to c8, knight e7 check, and king up to the g7, we can very nicely capture that queen, and this literally leads us to a winning, a completely winning type of position. We realize that if the black rook gets to take in there, we got rook takes d7, and well, I don't see anything that black has the ability to do actually in here. So, for example, after rook takes d7, we got b7 attack. We got our pieces really well involved in joining the attack. So, what can black play? Well, it's hard to suggest that, really, especially as I'm seeing a move like f5 and a few others that can be practically great. So, what do we say about bishop d7? Is there anything that black can do? That's very hard to say. I don't think so. See, it's an amazing move, and it's just like the whole idea about the conjunction of the team. So, like a decoy with a removal of the defense and a possible fork. Very interesting idea. Let's take a look at another one. This next one is a beautiful type of an example of using similar motives or similar teams actually in the same way. Now, I'm going to bring that up right here. Here it is. So let's see what this is all about actually. You know, white has got some very good activity, especially the one connected to it is rook on the d7. Then there is this powerful knight on the g5, and the thing is that we got our rook, you know, ready to attack and destroy. But although we've got these pieces right in place, the actual question we have to ask is, how do we make something out of them? There's a problem here that it doesn't sound so easy. I mean, we got this rook, we got that knight, we got these pieces all around and well set, and it's not clear how can we, you know, use them and break him. Yet I have an idea about the position, and what we realize is that this idea connects to a small move that actually helps us to really destroy black's own position. So how do we make this work? I mean, what's the best way to lead our attack through? Doesn't look easy, that's obvious. Well, actually, if you're looking at the position right now, we discover that white has a very strong rook that is well lined up, and the thing is that, you know, the black bishop on the g7 is also a little bit backward, so it's actually weak. See, so any time when you're looking at such a combination, you have to find out the motives. Now, people will get confused by teams and motives. Now, so, I've even heard some people say, okay, Valerie, it's not a motive, it's a motif. Well, that really doesn't matter. In meaning, motive or motif is not what many people think. It's a reoccurring theme. It's something different, to me at least. Motive or motif, however you like to call it, is something that gives you the reason behind certain tactical combination to work. Usually it is, let's say, a weak king, or you know, like a pin, or whatever your opponent has exposed as a kind of a weakness in his position. That can be assigned as a motive, something you can take advantage of. It could be what, I mean, I would call it a weakness, but weakness is a specific piece or a square that is weak. Motive, it could be something completely different. Could be something that doesn't have to do with a certain piece or a certain square. It may have to do with a line, you see. It's like a motive for a certain combination to exist, like a certain weakness, certain idea that a player can build on it and make his combination successful. So what you need to realize is that looking at the motives at first is the most relevant. And now we find out there are quite a few motives. There's the g7 weakness. There's the blocking that is a little bad out there. There's this, we find out is that there's this queen and the knight. They're also not really standing as great. They're a bit vulnerable, and we discover that white is really dominating with both his knight and the rook. So this is really important. So the question is, how can we get to use these pieces in order to create more threats and come out with more possible activities? So what we realize in this position is that there is the move of rook takes g7 that we can make, and after king takes to the g7, we can actually go for the move of queen takes to d4. That is a powerful idea of how we destroy his defense. We take out the knight from d4, And above all, when he actually gets to capture there, we do knight takes to e6, so we can attack against his king, and we attack against his queen at the very same time. It is really perfect, and above all else, when the black king goes away, we can just take down the queen, so we actually leave him into a very hopeless kind of position. And so I guess that's just the way to go. I mean, like in the end, we have two knights versus a rook, which is something really powerful. And I don't know how black is gonna really make the defense work. So this is about rook takes to g7 and queen takes to d4 with knight takes a6 to follow. Beautiful way to finish the black position off. That is what we call the decoy. You know, decoys can work in different ways, but this is the most beautiful one that we've actually seen right now to work.